Week, leaders from 66 chapters have been gathered this past weekend in Utah for our annual leadership retreat. If those of you who don't know what AIGA is, it's a professional association for design, and we work to advance design as a profession and as a strategic tool and a vital cultural and business force. Thank you guys that are joining me today. I have Mike Gorman, the president of the West Michigan chapter, Marvin Forte, the president of the Arizona chapter, and Elysia, Syriac, the president of AIGA Colorado, and you can correct me probably there if I pronounced it right, Elysia. Was that right?
No, it's Elysia.
Elysia, and what's your last name? How do you pronounce it?
Syriac.
Syriac. Thank you so much for doing that. So guys, thank you for joining us this short notice. My goal for today was to answer the two questions. Number one, what are the three takeaways that we as leaders of AIGA National took away from the retreat? And then the second is, what are three actions that we can take right away with our chapters immediately? And I put together mine for us to share really briefly. So let's bring up my three takeaways. That title card for me, please. So the first one was from seeing the Rally chapter and what they're doing. I really got a great example of how to change your positioning from, hey, we're a club or a membership organization, and building a community. I loved the way they were doing what they were doing, how inclusive they were of the general community, member or not, and how they ran their board meetings, that they were really problem-solving sessions, really effective ways of figuring out what they needed to do and where they needed to go, versus a traditional board meeting following Robert's Rules of Orders, which again, you need to make sure and have minutes and have all the things that were decided, but it doesn't have to be lame. Number two, from the Seattle chapter, I got that it can be really fun to put techies and designers together. And Microsoft and Google and Amazon all sponsored it. That was an amazing takeaway for me. That is literally, I got teary-eyed and I didn't cry just because it's just not, appropriate for a man to cry in public at a conference like this. But I literally was just welling up. I'm like, oh my God, that's so good. And the final one, the third one, is from the Colorado chapter, really expanding the themes. Everything doesn't have to be like, oh, we're designers and we're gonna talk today about no, they were doing, skateboard as a canvas in an event that nobody could pronounce, and you're gonna have to correct us. Everybody said bordello, so bordello is what stuck. So board, keyword board. They did not have a bordello in Colorado, even though you guys pioneered bordellos during the gold rush. Moving on now. So guys, thank you again. And I'm just going to go one by one and have you guys answer your three takeaways and the three actions. So let's start out first with every person going through the three takeaways. And we'll start out with Marvin, since you're on the top left here of my screen. Just tell me a little bit about your chapter, what your role is, and what did you get out of this amazing event that we went to together this weekend?
Hey there. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I am president of AIGA Arizona. I've been president since January, been on the board for about 4 years. My big takeaways from the leadership retreat, I went to a breakout session where Austin talked about their advisory board. That's something that we've talked about doing in Arizona for a long time. We've got some community leaders that would be great to have on an advisory board, but I really hadn't done anything with it and needed a little guidance on how to get that set up. So I got some input on that. And that's one of the actions definitely that I plan on putting in place. Let's see, from Minnesota, there was some input on doing an annual local retreat. For those of us that are on the boards, doing your programming part of the retreat is always a big challenge. Trying to collect all these brainstorm ideas that everybody has and pool them into the programs that you're going to put on for the next year is overwhelming at times. So they had a really nice process, tactical process, and I guess last year they did more of the strategic process, which unfortunately I wasn't at that breakout, but I did go to the tactical one this year. And Minnesota are great about sharing all their materials with everyone in AIGA, so they're going to make those available for all of us to help us put on a better annual retreat. And so that was my second plan of action. Our annual retreat's coming up at the end of this month, so I got to get on that right away. And then the last big takeaway for me was this concept of head, heart, hand. That's something that Rick Ruffet, our executive director, talked a lot about. And it's pretty meaningful for me because if you use that to apply to your business, that you're always engaging all three of those, it's going to mean that you're kind of fulfilled in the business that you do and you're not frustrated. You were talking a little earlier about client frustrations. And we all go through that for sure, but I think if you're always trying to pay attention to the clients you're talking to and continue to work with the people that are allowing you to engage all three of those disciplines, I think you'll be happier. And then what was my last?
I think you went through your three. So the first one,
sponsorship model.
that
was one that you had as well, and that was great. I mean, hearing Alan in Philadelphia talk about this a la carte menu where they actually give their in-kind sponsors credit for a dollar amount, that then that sponsor can pick things from the menu that they might want to get from AIGA, so they really feel like they're getting something back instead of just giving it away for free to AIGA.
I think that was a really, really eye-opening example from Philly, and I happen to be wearing the Philly T-shirt.
I noticed that.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
It's an awesome shirt. I actually got a shirt, as many shirts as I could, because I don't like wearing the same shirt twice on the show. So you guys should try to watch every single show and see if I ever repeat shirts. That's a good exercise. So let's move on.
Knoxville had a great shirt too.
Thank you, Marvin, for sharing that, and I really appreciated what you shared during the same session on membership that I attended, where we heard about Philly's innovative way of doing sponsorship, almost as like a credit. It's an online model that was Facebook even has it. And again, and I don't want to mess it up, but in Spanish, by the way, it's Elysia.
That's closer.
There you go. So I'm just going to speak Spanish for the rest of this whole thing. So Elysia, can you tell me a little bit about Colorado, what you guys have done? You guys, your presentation was just amazing, and seeing how much money you raised from it and seeing how much fun it is, but really importantly, how you engage the community outside of just our design community in Colorado, in your city. Just tell us a little bit about your chapter, and what are your three takeaways?
Yeah, so I am current president of AIGA Colorado, and it's Elysia Syriac. And we are at 500 members, which is a new growth process for us. We've increased over 100 members in the past year, so we've kind of exploded a little bit. So my presidency, which started a year ago, has been about how do we deal with this growth, and what do we do and harness all this energy. And our goals as a chapter is to be statewide. We're at a unique challenge right now on how we engage people in a huge area, so that's really what we're focused on. And Portobello is a key to kind of how we get there and how we reach those communities. For us, one thing that was really striking was Toledo's You Are Here campaign. We struggle a lot with awareness, and how they had little dots around the city and informed their community and linked AIGA to that was remarkable. And I would love to do something like that in our city. And then Rick Buffet's Head, Heart, Hand and AIGA coming on the 100th anniversary is really an exciting time for us to kind of plan for, and an easy way to align our board as we go into our global retreat. So that was really great. And then we, too, really like Raleigh's community-focused model and want to kind of bring that up. We're a community largely of non-joiners, so I think this would be really good to activate them and bring them into the fold a little bit with low commitment. And then their Pursuit Fund for professional development was amazing. And because Portobello did really good and it's focused toward a mentorship, we want to develop something like that, because as we cross into the professional realm, there's not a lot of support, so we want to be able to do that as well.
Awesome, thank you so much. Can you explain a little bit, Head, Heart, and Hand, how you understood it? Because I thought also that was a very smart way strategically to divide AIGA into the 21st century. I think that kudos to the national board. I'm assuming that they brought in some genius, brand strategy and strategy folks to do that, because it's not, having done it in the past, it's not easy. It looks really simple. Hey, head, heart, and hand, yay. But I'm pretty sure that took time and effort. How do you understand it?
So how we took it away is kind of a framework for planning. So if we have a large community that we need to see, they all have different needs, and some definitely respond to more of the social, some respond to the development, and some respond to more of the heady conversation and the the nuts and bolts of what design business is. So our goal is to kind of have a variety of programming for the arc of your career. And so this is a way to kind of gauge, are we doing enough head stuff? Are we doing enough feel good? And are we doing enough training? It's the hands. So for us, that's really going to be how we're going to apply it locally.
Oh, I love that. That's a great way. So you're parsing basically your users, just like user profiles, people who are interested in the, head in the, more. And I also look at head as the business aspects, of the practice, the strategic, the why we're doing things, and then the hand being both the craft, but also really pushing the craft beyond what we see it today. And I also see the hand being expanding it beyond just graphic design and into product and into other things, and finally having the heart really, which is not just about the passion that it takes to do what we have to do, but really about the fact that we have great amount of empathy and are able to use that to do businesses or to create whatever it is we create for good versus just for profit, right? And I'm not saying not for profit. I'm saying that we can bring a degree of empathy, of big picture thinking that for a long time, business people haven't been able to bring over the 20th century. Just today, right before the show, I tweeted an article from The Economist that said something to the degree that we need more misfits. And I put it on our AIGA Leadership Retreat Facebook, that they were saying we need more misfits, more big picture thinkers, more healers. They specifically said ADD and Asperger's, but being diagnosed with ADD, I say, okay, you guys do need me in business. So I was really impressed with those three things, and I look forward to using it in our chapter to divide up and parse up what our efforts are. And I know that those that attended with me from my chapter felt the same way, that this is a great tool to help us parse those three things. Thank you so much.
And it's really easy to explain, so that was the thing that I really loved about that as well.
It makes it, they made it visual with icons, which I love. So thank you, Elysia. And now Mike Gorman, with somebody running behind you out the door. Mike, so what did you take away? Tell me a little bit about you. A little bit about you, what you're doing in Michigan, and your three takeaways.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jose. I am president of the AIGA West Michigan chapter, and it's mostly based out of Grand Rapids, but it extends to the lakeshore of Michigan. And we just started the chapter about 3 years ago. This was actually my fourth leadership retreat, and they are amazing to just meet with so many great people like Marvin and Elysia. We have grown in that 3-year period to about 325, roughly in that area, and that, for our size, I think it's quite a bit. And yeah, and I think we've got a really strong design community. So you want me to go right into the
go into your three takeaways
that I took?
Yep.
Well, I think I'm going to go backwards. The one thing that it amazes me every time I've been to these is just what an amazing model AIGA is. The way the chapters work within the whole structure. The way chapters can create something new, share it, and then it can be copied, and it can be done very quickly. That is the power. That's a very powerful thing. I mean, it happened with Compost Modern. I think it happened with Design for Good. We put on our Design for Good event fairly early, a year ago, and by the time this leadership conference came about, more than half of the chapters had done some sort of Design for Good event.
So the national, having a national organization with cells locally, really, that makes it sound like Al-Qaeda, but yeah, it really is an effective model, which is great. Well, I like the fact Colorado did an event called Weapons of Mass Seduction. What was it? Weapons of Mass, what was the title, Colorado?
I'm sorry.
Did you guys do an event?
Question?
No, it was an event called Weapons of Mass Creation. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
It's a great title. I'm sorry to go back to the sharing of your three takeaways. What were your three takeaways, Mike?
Well, that was one of them, basically. That we're in such a good position as an organization. It's more of an an observation of that, that we are in a really good position with that kind of structure that doesn't really exist.
So we're excited about the role that AIGA National is taking and how awesome what's happening is. So that's I share that takeaway. So what are your other two?
The other, the next one, I really came with like meeting you right off the bat, Jose, and really plays off of your. I think you followed it up with the next 100 years, basically talking about the fact that designers have designers have been working for customers and doing things that other people have decided for many years and creating amazing things, but that when we start to create ourselves, there's going to be a great power in that. I really came to the conference with a little bit of an agenda, because there in Grand Rapids right now there's a growing group of entrepreneurs, and there's a push to make Grand Rapids a more entrepreneurial city with a group called Stark Garden that is actually giving away $10,000 every week to 2 ideas, and they're really pretty simply formed ideas, and so it's all there just to create create incentive to take great ideas and not just let them sit there, but make them happen.
I love the concept, and you explained it to me when we were in Utah, and one of the things that, again, it matches what my interests are as a designer, having moved on from just servicing clients, but also to creating product, and how do I share with my people, quote unquote, the ability to create our own industries, et cetera. Grand Rapids happens to be a very specific, interesting point for that, because of the change that Michigan is going through from a 20th century industrial economy into a 21st century more entrepreneurial economy that is being driven by makers, quote unquote, as I would call us. I think Colorado also represents a lot of what's happening at that level. And I can't tell you how excited I am about what's happening. A lot of people might see it as doom and gloom, and it's the economy not being able to get peppy back again. But it's not going to be the responsibility of the people who did it in the 20th century. It's now our responsibility. And I see it as our responsibility, and as a transition point to the actions. The fact that we're doing this episode is an action point for me, even though it's not on my list. Rick, the president of National, how do you pronounce his last name? Griffey. I don't want to mess it up. Rick, when we did the one-to-one with the folks from my chapter, he called us out. He said, one, I expect a lot more from LA, which was kind of like, damn, there you go. I expect a lot more from LA. And then second, he said, bring LA to what your strengths are to the table. And I'm like, wait a minute, we're the capital of media. We produce content, and I said, why don't I use the platform that I already have, that people watch from around the US and the world, as part of what we need to be able to do as a chapter, and I'm not talking about LA, as a body, AIGA National and all the chapters, to collaborate and to share information and to do education. So this is really you guys coming on and sharing your goals, or what you took away and your actions is really important. So bring up, guys, my actions if you can, the 3 actions that I'm bringing back to the table, the title slides for that, and let's go through everybody's actions real quick so that we can wrap up in a few minutes. So here are the 3 actions. So, well, actually, yeah, there we go. That's it right there. So I'm going to suggest that we begin a community movement model versus, hey, let's get more members. Let's build a big movement around what we do. And I don't care whether people are free or they're in the lower rungs of the business model of the subscription that we're going to be rolling out over the next several months or the next year. It doesn't matter. Just lots of people on Twitter, lots of people on the Facebooks and on the social medias, and even on this kind of format, which is broadcast live TV and archived. Second is to push us to divide LA into several regions, whether it's 2 or 4, it doesn't matter, but with independent events on the west side and the east side, and people on the ground running each sector. And we can do big events that bring everybody together in the tent, but I think to be effective, it would be great to be able to manage. LA is freaking huge, and I know Arizona is also has this issue. And I don't mind having cells from different places. Ari, you're on the east side. Would you go to downtown events?
Totally.
If you were a member, are you a member of AIGA LA?
Not yet, but I'm gonna be.
Can you please become a member after this? You make a lot of money. Come on, dude.
Don't say that.
No, but you do. Come on. You got to give back to the community.
No,
All right,
I'm
sorry.
gonna do it.
I'm trying to sell some memberships here while I'm doing this, but let me see the last one. That's embarrassing, dude.
I know.
That's my
I'm
co-host does
terrible.
not. It's not a member. That is definitely. By the way, I wasn't a member before I joined the board, and the board had to force me to do it during our board meeting to become a member. That's horrible to admit, but that's what was the value proposition? I don't know. When am I becoming a member? All right, now I know it, by the way. So let's go to the third one, to the last one. So open up our sponsors categories to more a la carte, which is what Philly talked about. So like be a little bit more open. Forget about these big chunks of money. It's just like whether it's the point system or just being more flexible and saying, hey, you want to do $500, $500, $500, $500, and get a couple grand from that versus having this rigidity. And I think that was a really great insight and a takeaway, and something that I've been trying to push our board to do, but people were like, no, we have to go back to what's in that document we wrote. I'm like, I don't give a fuck what the document says. Just sell $500 to whoever that sponsor is, take their money. All right, that's just me. So now let's go and start again. Marvin, just real quick, what are the 3 actions that you are ready to start taking? Marvin,
Which one of us?
did you already go through your actions?
I kind of did.
You kind of did? So Elysia, can you go through your actions?
Elysia.
Elysia, I'm going to get it right by the end of the show.
One of the things that I got that was really inspiring, and this was actually from one of my other board members, was Portland's social media guidelines. Because communication is a big part of one of the things we can improve on. And so I was inspired by how they were inspired. So I want to implement that for better communications on our events and things that we do. And then advisory board, I sat in on that as well with you, Marvin, and that was awesome. We've been talking about that forever. They're just these conversations. So I'm happy to and excited to kind of start an actual functioning advisory board.
Yeah.
And then I sat in on another breakout session with one of the treasurer from Nebraska, and they had a really good plan on how to stabilize your budget over the course of the year and forecast with your programming and how that works together. And we don't spend as much time as we could kind of doing that forecasting, maybe because we hate numbers as designers, but it was really inspiring to kind of see that it's a reality if we just take the time to do it. So that was really great.
Awesome. Thank you for those. Those are very awesome. Mike, do you want to go through your takeaway? Through your, in this case, your actions. What are you going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, having seen that I think designers are ready to push into an entrepreneurial role. I think we're at the early part of the curve, of a bell curve, but going ahead and prototyping, we're going to try to prototype an event where designers come together with entrepreneurs, and we build 5 teams, and they're going to get, each team is going to be funded at about $1,000 to go out for 1 month and see what they can do as far as making money with their idea. And so if that takes off, if that works, we'll see what people get out of it.
That'd be awesome. So that's one.
Yeah.
That's
one.
You have
The
2
next
more
is
left.
actually putting a little bit of an entrepreneurial flavor into our next Design for Good event, possibly looking at creating a limited profit startup rather than working for a nonprofit. So we may have to scale it. There's a couple out there that are about ready to start that we may be able to piggyback on, or we may be just looking at creating it from within the community.
And what's
the
your final one?
last is just something I picked up at even previous retreats, but the idea of getting diversity on our board, not just all designers. It's a great opportunity. You can get the talent and you can get the extra community connections. And I think think going forward, the AIGA is going to be a broader organization. I think we're going to have an opportunity to pull a lot of non-designers in that know people that know that design is important.
That's an awesome one. So I want to wrap up with a couple of things, but one, I want to ask you guys, again, in the spirit of collaboration and in the spirit of getting input from all of us as chapters, what could LA do for you? What can I personally, through the show and through what we're doing here in LA, do for every single one of your chapters? For Arizona, for example, what could we do for you?
Well, you and I talked a little bit about that, and we're not that far from each other. So it'd be great if we could pool our resources and do some co-events or something.
I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, I'd be very interested in doing that. We've done a lot of what you talked about as far as building community. The last 4 years, that's exactly what we've been working on, is building community here and reaching out to everyone and having a very open policy where we don't feel like we're competing with people. And that's the key. And we had to do it with other chapters too, not just in our own community, but sharing resources with everybody here.
And you bring up a really good point. Philly had this issue too, and LA is a really big issue, which is we have tons of arts organizations, museums. A lot of attention is being pulled of our designers into and in different regions, West Side, East Side, San Pedro, et cetera, from all these organizations. And how do we break the noise? How do we provide value to our design community and compete for their dollars, especially during this economy, or just for their brains, for their mind, for their attention. So I like and I look forward to talking more about what you guys have done to build that community and borrow and steal some of those ideas that you guys have done. So thank you.
Awesome.
Same question, Elysia. Elysia.
I think it would be great to highlight kind of vice versa what your chapter is doing, and that's how we could inspire our community. So one of the things that I would like to do in general, it's just we have so much around us and so much to share that I would love to know what you guys are doing so that I can tell it to everyone else.
Oh, wait a minute. Here's an idea. What would you be willing to come back on the show for one of these special segments and show the bordello? and show the
Portobello.
Okay, repeat it again. I'll get it right.
Portobello.
Bordeaux. Okay. Bordeaux. Okay. Like what you said.
Italian is so close to Spanish. Come on.
It's beautiful board.
There you go. We all speak Spanish here, and you speak Spanish really well, Mike. Also, your wife's Puerto Rican, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico in the house. But would you be willing to come on and actually present and share it with everyone?
I would love to. We actually have our call for artists going out soon, so that would be amazing.
When is it going out?
First week of July.
And when does it close?
Second week of July. There's only a very small.
Oh, it's very short. So if we scheduled it for middle of June, the third week of June, something like that.
That would be great. We'd have so much to share. That would be great.
Done. So you're going to present that on the special segment after This Week in Web Design for everyone to see what you guys are doing. Awesome. So anything else we can do here from LA? From the media capital of the world.
Crickets.
Crickets. No, but that was it. What you said is awesome. I love your idea. Bringing up, maybe we can do it as a series and have different. Maybe then we have. You just gave me a brilliant idea. It's very exciting. As added content, we can have every chapter that presented their inspiration stories or the ones that we really like. Seattle, Raleigh, present theirs.
Yeah, that's the best part of the retreat. In addition to hanging out with everyone else and really feeling the vibe, those chapter inspiration stories are the meat and the bread and butter that I want to share with everyone else. So if we can do that on a micro level, that would be great, and I think would generate a lot of energy for all of our communities.
Totally agree. Thank you. That's a brilliant freaking idea. All righty. Mike, what can LA do for you?
Aside from that one, because that would really help every chapter that needs to, everyone struggles with how do we get that inspiration back to the rest of the board and the chapters. So do that. But for me, I would like to see you and Jason Calcanis come out for that prototype that we're talking about, or maybe a little Skyped version.
I can promise that I can come out and do it with you.
Excellent.
Jason coming out to Michigan might be a harder sell, but
Yeah.
it could be via Skype, and I could definitely look at. I'm going to ask him to see if he'd be willing to do that for designers, like you know how he does the pitch sessions, and for us to get different designers. Ooh, that's a nice idea to potentially do a design edition of Shark Tank.
You know, another angle is even kind of startups in the flyover states, because that's kind of what we're trying to do in Grand Rapids, and you know, there's not much of that. You know, it's mostly happening in the in the Valley and New York, and a little bit here and there, but it's not as well organized.
Yeah, that's an interesting challenge. That the attention goes to the coasts, but not. Grand Rapids is a perfect location for a lot of entrepreneurial movement to occur, and I'm excited about helping support that. We already talked while we were in Utah about me coming to Grand Rapids and helping on any other workshops or the things. So let's keep on talking about that and planning, or even the opportunity for you guys to fly someone out here, for any of the events that we have over the next several months, over the next 6 months. You guys all gave me really great ideas. Thank you again. And one of the things that I really want to share as we wrap up, to stay on time as I like doing, is that for me, first of all, doing the show every week, I do the show and then I do the school on Thursdays at noon Pacific. I have to write scripts. I have to do a lot of content. I'm dealing with people all over the United States and the world that are customers or that are members. I couldn't go. I said to my chapter, I had said yes, got overwhelmed and said, look, I can't go. And he actually got on the phone with me, first of all, pissed. Second, pushed me to do it. He said, just do it, whatever obstacles, let's get him out of the way. And I said, okay, fine. And I went. And it was the best decision I've made. The people that I met, you guys, just the spirit that existed there was extremely, not just inspirational, but it pushed and validated everything that I'm doing with This Week in Web Design, et cetera, with the school. It's just having people say, oh my God, I need that. I need help. I need, these tools, or getting invited to go to Alaska to speak at AIGA there. And previously before that, it was a pretty huge deal for me to actually be able to see that. And had I not gone, I think it would have been a serious loss to us as an organization, but even to me as an individual. So I just want to say thank you to you guys for the opportunity to have met you and sharing with such awesome people. Ari, I don't know, I mean, I wish you would have been there
I wish I would have been there too.
Damn you. So you need to join and help the chapter here in LA. All right, that's a deal. So thank you guys, and for our audience and those of you who are not members of AIGA, look for your local chapters. I'm going to put a list and emails and links for the chapters that you see here represented, but if you guys are looking for others like you and support in growing your design careers, your web design careers, hell, if you're a developer, whoever it is that you are, if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for resources, for learning, for lessons, and for a community of like-minded people that can help you reach your goals, AIGA is a great source for you for that. And I would really highly recommend that. And over the next 6 months, the next year, I really look forward to continuing to share with you both the stories, but what's going on and how we're providing value to our community. And really, at the end of the day, changing the world. It's our responsibility. I said it in that, Next 100. It's not the responsibility of, the people who have gotten us where we are today. It's our responsibility as big picture thinkers, as creatives, as makers, as empathizers to rule the world. That's a nice ending for the show.
Awesome.
So see you guys. Thank you again. And everybody who watches This Week in Web Design, join us next week for Sink or Swim. We're going to do an all Sink or Swim episode where people submit their sites and we tear them apart. Actually, we do it very nicely. We do it gently. We do it constructively. Here's what you could do better.
Trash.
And then we say sink or swim. So join us again next week. Thank you, everyone, for joining us from Colorado, from Arizona, and from Michigan. See you guys again soon on the show. See you next week when you guys watch us work.